pamahalaan at ang pribadong sektor sa kilusang Pilipinas kontra gutom. Lahat kasali, lahat kasalo. Para malaman kung paano makaambag at tumulong, pumunta lang sa laginghanda.gov.ph/Pilipinas kontra gutom.
Oil Bank Pugis Branch dita La Trinidad direct hauler datoy manipod iti depo so nga garantiya nga quality iti fuels ken nalaklakapay ken dapat iti maurnong yung pontosyo kada panagpakargayo iti diesel wano iti gasolina. Dagiti drivers rewards karamanan iti tools, mountain bike accessories and many more. Libre nga karwas, libre nga kape, wano merienda. Enjoy natin na malawa nga paradaan. Dagiti prices ken privileges kadi papaimat iti Wayside Thermal Saxium Cafe and Resto ken iti mountain bike shop accessories. All in one. Oil Bank Pugis Branch La Trinidad. Masarakan sa magmamanulang Metro manipod iti Longlong Junction Pugis La Trinidad.
Dala ang pananaw ng serbisyo at pagbabago para sa mga Pilipino.
I, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and conscientiously fulfill my duties.
Maglaban sa kahirapan, katiwalian, droga at kriminalidad upang bayan ay umunlad.
To wage war against those who make a mockery of our laws. Indeed, courage knows no limit.
Mga proyekto at infrastruktura, pagharap sa pandemya at patuloy na pagbangon ng ekonomiya. Sama-sama nating alamin ang estado ng ating bansa sa ilalim ng Administrasyong Duterte. Ang ika-6 at huling State of the Nation Address ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Huling sona ni Presidente Duterte. Ngayong Hulyo 26, alas 4 ng hapon, live na mapapakinggan. Huling sona ni Presidente Duterte.
End the bill to end the contractualization.
Yes.
Because if I may recall, isa rin ito sa major issues na binanggit ni Pangulong Duterte noong 2016, I will stop
Ika ng trabaho na gustong talakayin ng Pilipino ngayon huling sona ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. At sinundan niya ng pagpapaunlad ng ekonomiya. So napakahalaga lalo ngayong pandemya na to yung kabuhayan para sa maraming Pilipino.
Exactly. So, maraming issues na pwedeng tatalakayin siya rito, no? Maaring ito sabay-sabay. It's 4:02, alas 4:02 at 29 segundos ang atin pong oras. So, in our TV monitor, ay nakikita pa rin natin si Pangulong Duterte ay nasa loob ng holding area, no? Mukhang hindi pa tapos ang discussion o pag-uusap niya with the Senate President Tito Soto. Andun din si Speaker Velasco and of course si Senator Bongo, no? So, any moment from now, ang tabayanan po natin, mga ka-IC, mga gili po naming tagapakinig, ang huling mga magiging programa at gagawin ng Pangulong Duterte sa kaniyang ika-6 na SONA, the last SONA under the Duterte administration. Alam mo, doon sa mga opposition, no, nababanggit ko. Sandali. Meron tayong report. Nasa linya ng ating komunikasyon si Patrol number 17, Jopel Peleño, na may ulat po diyan pa rin sa atin pong kongreso. Maaring siya ay nasa paligid, no? Jopel, magandang hapon. Jopel. Okay, babalikan po natin. Jopel, nandiyan na? Okay, wala pa si Jopel Peleño. It's 4:03 in the afternoon. At muli, uulitin natin, no, Jen, no? Kayo po ay nasa special coverage ng DWIZ 882. Nakikita po natin ngayon, tumayo na at umalis na mula sa holding area si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte.
Ayan.
At siya po ay kasabay ng eskorta ni Senate President at the Speaker of the House. At si Senator Bongo, unti-unti siya po ay naglalakad na papunta mismo doon sa session hall para ibigay ang ang kanyang State of the Nation address. And as Jill reported kanina or a while ago, na napakasimple na ito. Wala na itong shake hands, no? Diretso na siya dun sa may session hall, no? At sasamahan siya ng dalawang mataas na leader ng kapulungan. At pagkatapos ay of course may programa diyan. Merong ang tawag ito, singing of the national anthem.
Yes,
Oo. Kilala mo ba kung sinong kakanta?
Ako,
Natandaan mo?
Kasama ang Philharmonic Orchestra po.
Aha. Okay. So, ayan po, naglalakad po si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Kung nakikita niyo para doon sa ating Facebook Live, medyo mahaba rin ano to, ha? Pinalakad pa ng malayo, ha? Pangulo, ha? Okay, nasa likod po si Senator Bongo. Okay, at siyempre ang mga opisyales ng Kongreso. So, in any moment, madidinig na natin ang ating Pangulo. So, balikan lang natin, no, Jenny, no? So, isa pa rin sa malaking issue na maaring talakayin ang pag-usapan, mainit po ito, ang West Philippine Sea.
Yes.
Oo. At binabanggit ko nga kanina na baka sakali ang inaabangan dito sapagkat season na ng politika,
Tama.
baka dito formally announce na niya that talagang he's considering to run for
As
Vice President of the
Yes,
Republic
oo.
of the Philippines. So, yan ang no, ha? So, sandaling huminto na muna. Tinignan muna siguro yung mga, para may mga artwork sa loob, no? Oo. Maganda siguro maiulot ng ating makasama. But anyway, nagkaroon pa ng picture taking na muna. Mukhang may dinidiscuss dito. So, balikan natin yung gusto kong talakayin. So, West Philippine Sea at possible yung announcement niya that he's really considering to run for Vice President in the next election. Oo. So, ang dami, no?
Maraming pwedeng abangan talaga ngayon.
Okay. So, of course, itong pagkatapos nitong, ang sabi ni PCOO, no? Ni Secretary Harry Roque, 4 na araw na ni-review, no, ni Presidente yung kanyang talumpati, yung speech niya. At talagang ito'y salang-salana. Kumbaga, pabago-bago. Siya na yung huling mismo nag-edit on the 4th day. Okay. So, in the same manner, ang sabi nila, aabutin lang to 1 oras.
1 oras.
Oo. Kaso mahilig sa ano?
Yun ba, yung makawala dun sa script, yun pa lang. Pero,
yes. Kaso mahilig sa adlib.
Yes. Okay.
Kaya baka ito ho, 1 oras, no, o itong 60 minutes, ay maaring lumampas. So, pagka ginanahan ho ito, tingin ko mas mahaba ang adlib ng Pangulo. Okay? So
dahil marami siyang kailangang sagutin.
And it was experience also in the previous zona na ang forecast nila 1 oras,
pero
no? laging lumalampas doon. Okay. Mahaba yung ayan na, nasa loob na. Pumasok na ng session hall ang Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ito. At ayun, kahit papano may palakpak na. Mula po sa mga kongresista. 350 lang allowed sa loob, no?
Yes po.
At saka talaga mahigpit. Mahigpit talaga. Okay. So, ibig sabihin niya, bago ka makapasok, may RT-PCR ka at may antigen ka pa doon.
Yes.
Okay? So, eto ho. Ayan. So, papasok na si Presidente o nasa loob na mismo. Ayan. Papaakyat na ho siya. Patungo na siya doon sa podium para pumwesto. Ayun. Ay, si Secretary Lorenzana ng Department of National Defense. Yes. Okay. Sinalubong siya pareho. Andun.
President Tito Soto.
Anong tawag doon? Nag-ano pa sila?
Fist bump.
Nag-fist bump pa sila ni Speaker Velasco at saka ni Senate President Tito Soto. Okay. And of course, kapag nakaharap ka, to your left yung Senate President, no? And to the right is the Speaker of the House at siyempre nasa sentro si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Okay. Ayan. So mga kaibigan, para dun sa mga late tuners, kayo po ay nakikinig sa special coverage ng DWIZ 882 para sa huling sona ng Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ngayong araw na ito.
Ang huling sona ng Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte, the DWIZ special coverage.
Led by Miss Morissette Amon and accompanied by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
Peras ng sinagalan, alab ng puso, sabit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa mamlulubing, di ka pasisihin, sa dagat at bundok, sisimoy at sa langit ang kapal.
Please remain standing for the nation's prayer.
Ama naming makapangyarihan sa lahat, narito po kami upang magpasalamat sa lahat ng biyayang binibigay mo po sa amin, sa aming mayaman na kalikasan, mga kakayahan at tibay ng loob. Maraming salamat po. Basbasan mo po at gabayan ang aming mahal na inang bayan at ang aming mga leader na pangalagaan ang aming kinabukasan bilang susunod na henerasyon ng aming mahal na Pilipinas. Gabayan mo po kami sa harap ng pandemya at protektahan mo po kami. Ipakita mo po sa amin ang tamang daan upang malagpasan namin ito at lahat ng mga darating pang sakuna, kalamidad o anumang hamon. Lahat ng ito ay tinatanggap namin bilang pagsubok lamang upang lalo kaming sumampalataya sa iyo. Naway matamo namin ang ganap na pagkakaisa bilang isang bayan. Turuan mo po kaming maging mapagkumbaba at laging unahin ang aming kapwa bago ang aming mga sarili, lalo na ang mga kapuspalad, mga dumaraing at ang mga nais na marinig, pati na rin ang mga kababayan namin naghahatid ng mahalagang serbisyo sa kapwa, maging dito sa Pilipinas o sa ibang bansa. Patatagin mo po sana kami bilang tao at bilang isang bayan na laging nananalig at naniniwalang hindi mo po kami pababayaan kailanman. Salamat Panginoon sa lahat ng in-blessing sa amin. Ito po ang aming dasal. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of Congress, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down. By far, this is the most beautiful sauna crowd that ever happened here. So many beautiful faces, and you only have to guess when you see the full face of the person. Senate President Vicente Soto III and the honorable members of the Senate, House Speaker Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo, former Presidents Fidel V. Ramos, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Joseph Ejercito Estrada, the Chief Justice Alexander Gismondo, and the Justices of the Supreme Court, Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdia, and the members of the Cabinet, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Archbishop Charles John Brown, and the distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps. My fellow government workers, and of course, to my lovely wife, Hanilet, mga mahal kong kababayan, I assumed the presidency 5 years ago, dominant in my mind were the dreams and visions of a better life for all Filipinos. I saw them as reachable through the institution of reforms and radical changes in both in the structure of government and the mode of governance. Changes designed responsibility, accountability, and all in consonance with the truth that the public office is a public trust. When I ran for the presidency, I just made fundamental processes, and strangely, you can count them by the fingers of your hand. I made those changes which I thought that was really, there was time and doable. To offer free education, it's there already. The universal health care, nandiyan na po. The fight against illegal drugs, criminality, and corruption, and the development structure, including free irrigation and other big-ticket projects, which I thought I did not have the funds to do it. But perchance, among others, they were done in my term. Today, as I approach my term, my end of my term, I have less visions, but more remembrances. But mine is not to rue or to second guess what might have been, but to bear and respond with the urgency of the unforeseen events as they unfold. Even before I took the oath of office, and everyone else, I suppose, knew the gravity of the enormity of the problems that the country was facing. And precisely because of that awareness, I was driven to hasten implementation of changes which I believe the country needed, keeping in mind that the Constitution afforded me only 6 years to make those changes happen. Making a difference within the constitutional time frame is what I was up against. But no one gets by legally without warming to the needle's eye of the constitutional imperatives. That is why I cajoled, I shewed, I pushed, and I tangled with men of wealth and influence who were oblivious to the angst and pleas of the weak and impoverished. And for that, I was pilloried to no end. But I did not succumb to the attacks. And neither did I allow criticisms, however intense, dampen my determination and initiatives because my purpose was pure and unpolluted. While we were busy instituting reforms, the twin ogres of illegal drugs and corruption laid low for a while, only to resurface as still with us and make no mistake about it, corruption is but another term of stealing people's money, dashing in its wake a nation's goals and aspirations. Due to the brilliant programs and excellent work of our economic managers and the extraordinary cooperation between the executive and legislative branches of government, our economy with investor confidence was poised to leapfrog from the company into the company of the world's fastest growing economies until COVID-19 pandemic stalled everything. Be that as it may, allow me this opportunity to extend my personal and the nation's gratitude to all those who selflessly gave their all in the fight against COVID-19, our health workers and other frontliners who risk their own safety. To keep our essential health services and our food supply chain running, boosting the economy activity and ensure peace and order in our communities. I would like also to extend my deepest appreciation for the generosity of the private sector who came to the government's aid in fighting COVID-19. I am profoundly thankful for your sustained assistance to fellow Filipino. And amidst the same deleterious effect of the pandemic to respective industries, let me assure you that the government is committed to assess the private sector to regain the commercial vibrance of the country prior to the pandemic. To our local executives, this pandemic pushed you to step up and deliver responsive assistance. I'm glad to have seen you undertake new and heightened responsibility, working doubly hard to protect your constituents. To the international development partners who extended a helping hand amidst the global health emergency, the Philippines remembers your kindness and goodwill with sincere gratitude. And to all of you who answered the call to protect one another by adhering to our nation's protocols, daghang salamat. But then, let me ask, perhaps you and to myself, myself, what exactly is the state of the nation today? In the light of the pandemic which has paralyzed business activities and crippled even the strongest world's economies. So, where do we go from here? Looking back to our accomplishments. In my first SONA, I laid down with utmost commitment and resolve the overall direction of my presidency. A comfortable life for all Filipinos anchored on a people-centered approach to development and governance. If I remember correctly, my administration, I said, will implement a human approach to development governance in our people's welfare in the areas of health, free education, adequate food and housing, environmental preservation, and respect for the culture. I bore no illusions that steering a nation towards a comfortable life for every Filipino would be easy. Indeed, the past 5 years have truly been challenging and humbling. I stand here before you today bearing no conceit, but if there is one thing that I could be proud of, is that not once did I waver in doing the unpopular, even if it meant upholding the greatest good for the greatest number. Before I took office, our country was beset with communist insurgency scattered across the nation. A separatist movement that sought to divide us on the basis of religion and religion's deficiencies, and the proliferation of illegal drugs and criminality. Our armed forces were ill-equipped to deal with internal and external threats, while the police force had been overwhelmed criminality and the drug trade problem. This is why I made it a priority to strengthen the institution, boost the morale of the men and women of the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police and other armed services. Again, I thank Congress for working with the Executive Department in enhancing capabilities of the AFP and PNP through our modernization program. In 2018, we raised the salaries of our military and uniformed policemen and personnel to a level commensurate to the critical role they play in upholding national security and maintaining order. asking Congress to pass a unified system of separation, retirement, and pension of military and uniformed personnel, to maintain government fiscal flexibility and provide adequate benefits and remuneration to our men and women in uniform. This shall apply only to the new entrants of the military and civil. Hindi ho lahat. Cannot be that we have to pay so many, even the salaries of the retired. They get a chunk of the big budget. And if we include the new entrants, the funds available for them would not be enough. It is also high time for us to pass a law providing free legal assistance to AFP and PNP officers, enlisted personnel. To help them from charges arising from incidents related to the performance of official duty. The continuous upgrading of our defense capability shall ensure that we shall uphold our territorial integrity and sovereignty from external and security threats. Among the new additions, we welcome the country's 2 missile-capable warships to enable us to protect our seas by providing them with necessary equipment, by enhancing their professional capabilities, and looking after the families of the soldiers who would not be longer be in their company. We do not only strengthen our military and police institutions, we also inspire them to serve this nation with the highest degree of loyalty and patriotism. We enable them to carry out their mandate to defeat all enemies of the state, whatever the cost. Indeed, I am proud of the accomplishments of our troops in securing our nation against all threats to our democratic institution. But peace must be realized. Peace and security is not only just a military concern. That is why we deviated from the traditional purely military approach in dealing with matters of national security. With the creation of the National Task Force to End Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCAC, we have made great strides in addressing the root causes of this conflict by empowering our kababayans who have been used by the communists for so many decades. In our continuing effort to build state of safe and conflict-resilient barangays, we have worked towards the sustainable rehabilitation and development of communities where the communists used to operate. Through the NTF-ELCAC, we invested in farm-to-market roads, school buildings, water and sanitation, health stations, and livelihood. Alam mo, kasali na tayo dito lahat. Always, every law or every regulation must pass Congress, of course, to the President. But sometimes, you know, in our in the performance of our duties, we encounter the not so nice of confronting each other. But because of these interventions, more than 17 former communist rebels have surrendered to government. They have returned to the folds of the law and are happily reintegrating programs or the local eclipse. It's either I am talking too fast or too slow, or the operator of this thing here is drowsy. Maybe because I had so many ad-libs along the way. Marami akong akin lang. Kaya yung nahito ako when I stop and I'm process something in the gray matter between my ears, hindi humahabol o hindi alam ng operator. Hindi bali, ma'am, mahal pa rin kita. Lalaki ba ito o yung mga babae? Kagabi yung mga babae, sila? Sabihin mo sa kanila, magipagkita ako maya. I will embrace them for their punctuality in operating this, this strange machine that gives you the speech. With the support of our local government units, I am confident that support for the communist movement will continue to erode in the next few months. Unlike the decades-old Moro rebellion in Mindanao, we also bring an end to the armed struggle of the communists once and for all. Sa totoo lang, itong komunista, college pa ako. Hanggang ngayon, ang mga sige pa rin. So, speech mo lang ito, kunwari lang, pero ang totoo, there's a lot of fighting going on in the countryside. But I'd like to credit the police and the military for destroying so many communist fronts. I think they have destroyed more than 15 apparatus or the fronts of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Alam mo, mag-istorya muna tayo sa taxation. I'd like to be frank with you. Everybody in this country are paying taxes to the communists. The Communist Party earns billions but pass on a little to their fighting men who die for an ideology that is so rotten and corrupt. They themselves are pocketing the money, and their children are studying in Europe and in other places, which I think none of you here can finance such journey. Yan ang masakit dito. They collect taxes, support season in Netherlands, and they do nothing but bad-mouth government and mouth, war, dogmas, and everything. Hindi na sila napagod. It's about 53 years in the making. And until today, the poor people are dying. The cadres, and most of them belonging to the indigenous tribes of our country, are fighting a losing battle between the communists and the government. They waste lives, they enlist children, and they are proud of it, but they deny it. But when you go to the mountains, such as I and Senator go many times, even during the elections, they were there with so many arms that I think somebody, an idiot here in the Philippines, supplied the firearms. I'd like to ask Congress, especially Senator Bato, kindly dig on, because we have identified the person who imported the AK-47 into this country on the pretext of using it in the security, providing security and guards in business establishments and for those who can afford their home. This policeman, I think, is still there. He was a colonel, and he is still, walang nangyari. At maraming sundalong namatay dahil sa mga armas na pinasok nila dito sa Pilipinas. So that my orders to you, if you see them walking around, kindly shoot them dead. We will be happy. Anyway, you're already charged in the ICC together with me. So what is the problem of adding another one? Another idiot Filipino who has caused great damage to our country. Yan ho ang totoo dyan. At itong mga pulis, but let me go back in time. When I first said I will fight drugs in 6 months, I thought it was like in Davao. You can either coerce, intimidate, or bribe them, or give them money. I said, lumabas kayo ng Davao, doon kayo magkalat sa Luzon at sa ibang lugar. Huwag dito sa Davao. Naniniwala naman ang mga ulol at we were able to attain a sense of normalcy in the city. Yun ho ang totoo. There are people charged with corruption and even going to prison for just maybe not telling the truth in their assets and liabilities. Nakukulong. Itong mga police were doing their thing their drugs. They were the manufacturers and they were the distributor of drugs. When I became president, I asked De La Rosa, he was the chief of police of my city. I promoted him direct to being PNP chief. 4-star na kaagad automatic. But I told him and the others, look for the enemies. Look for where they are. And if you find them, destroy the apparatus. Destroy all, from the manufacturers to the peddlers. Because we are fighting a drug war that was being participated in the business by 9 generals of the PNP. Kayan ang sakit sa loob. I did not know that I was fighting my own government. Customs and everyone else were facilitating the importation of drugs. And one importation, as you can see it every night on TV, the police now sees about almost $1 billion worth of drugs every day. And if you look at the 888, there are about 1,000 Filipinos arrested every day by the police in connection with drug trafficking. And that is why I go crazy looking at the situation. They are still around. We do not have the laboratories now because nawala na sila. At itong naiwan ngayon are doing the importation. The citizens of another country cook their shabu and their and their tugboat or something, and they throw out the product contained in the plastic bags and with GPS attached to the contraband so that the importers here could find them easily. That is how we are fighting, almost losing a battle against drugs. And now, the Sinalosa gangsters of Mexico and the triad of Laos in that area. They are busy cooking, and we have the Filipinos here with nothing in their mind except to destroy a nation, distributes them. That is what I said. I've been asked the question, and several times I gave the answer. I am a Filipino, and I love my country. I do not want my country in disarray because of drugs. I do not want families break up and become dysfunctional. Yun ang masakit sa akin. If you want to destroy a family, look for a way of the member or a resident of that family home. Biglang mo na droga. Pag nandyan na yung droga at they are hooked and that is the end. Sometimes families are separated because of drugs, becomes dysfunctional, at yung mga masawa magpunta doon sa abroad, ika nga, to look for jobs. And you know, in the Middle East, I am not attributing it to any particular country, but there are tribes in the Middle East who are employing our Filipinas citizens, and they are uniform. Everybody who comes here home asks them how many hours of sleep they have. They said it's only 3 to 4 hours, and the food is hagwas, and the sacrifice because they send money to the families back home, and thinking all the time that the money was spent usefully, only to realize when she comes home that that family has already dispersed to nowhere. Bakit yan? Because itong mga durugista sa baba, itong peddlers, itong basurero, tawag, sa street lingo, they look for families na may mga nanay, tatay nagtrabaho, ang tatay or nanay nagtatrabaho sa abroad. At to think na iniiwan nila ang mga anak nila kung saan-saan na lang to their neighbors at the tender age of 3 to 4, 5. It breaks your heart. Iiwan lang nila sa kapitbahay kung walang mga relatives. And then, when they come back 5 years up, 4 years after, they now realize that their young sons and daughters have gone into prostitution because of drugs. And their boys or their male are nowhere to be found and into the drug business also. Yun ang pinakamasakit. Masakit sa akin na ang Pilipina pumunta doon para magtrabaho because sexual abuse in some tribes in the Middle East have this notion that if you are a slave or you are a paid person working for them, sexual abuse becomes part of the territory. Kaya dyan ako pumuputok at nakakita ko yung mga pamilya na sira. And to think that they labored without sleep, eating, I said, garbage, and not being allowed to go to their own church to pray, well, that is prohibited by them. And we have been, just because of their money that they get, we just look the other way around, but still being, bothered every night, and what will happen to the next succeeding group of. That is why I have in this speech I talk about slavery. Pero yan, pagprangka ako, I have never deny, and the ICC can record it. Those who destroy my country, I will kill you. And those who destroy the young people of our country, I will kill you. Talagang nangyariin ito because I love my country. You can do it the legal way, but it would take you months and years. And you know what? The statistics I just learned the other night, that plenty of those who are in the middle class have been released from prison despite the fact that they are charged of trafficking which is non-bailable, and most of them are out. Babae pati lalaki ang kaso. And that is why I said, I toyed with the idea. I said, if there is still space, with due respect to the Senate President, he is a good man. He can become a good Vice President. He is holy. Ngayon, hindi na siya nahuli. Noon, huling-huli siya. But with due respect to Senator Soto, who's also running for the Vice Presidency, he is a capable man, a good man, and a Filipino. Sige ako tingin sa harap, nandito pala sa likod ko. You know, in your old, I've been in politics, mayor for 23 years, 5 years as a congressman dito. I work here. And 4 years working as vice mayor for my daughter, Sarah. And the presidency. I have been in politics almost 23 plus 4 plus 4. Almost 40. Kaya hindi ko na malaman ang seat arrangement dito. Hindi ko alam na noon pa ang mga Senate President pati. Butit na lang hindi ko sinali si Velasco. Baka hindi na ako makabalik doon maya. Bale, diretso na ako uwi. I have said many times before, the bloodshed caused by the separatist movement in Mindanao is all about correcting the historical injustice suffered by the Moro people. Since the period of colonialization, with the help of Congress, we were able to pass the organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Finally fulfilling a promise that was decades in the making. Our victory in Marawi is also a testament to how the Filipinos' patriotism is far stronger than any extremist group. As I have said before many times, there is no room for lawlessness in this country. Rebuilding a better Marawi remains today still not completed. To Task Force Bangon Marawi, we need to race against time, and you have to finish the necessary work for to rehabilitate the war-torn city and bring back its families back home. But let me talk again about the drugs. I was just ahead because I was talking something else. Nagsegue ako. While we have made great strides in ending rebellion and insurgency in various parts of the country, we still have a long way in our fight against the proliferation of drugs. This problem has hounded our country for several decades, destroying families and degrading the moral fiber of our society. When I assumed office, I committed to end this problem at the soonest possible time. we launched an unprecedented war against illegal drugs and to destroy their apparatus that permitted every level and sector of society. We wage war on the manufacturers, the financiers, the suppliers, the peddlers, and the entire syndicates, and more importantly, their protectors in government. We have rescued and reformed drug dependence because of their idiotic sense of decency. By interventions and building facilities not only for the rehabilitation but also to prepare them to reintegrate into society. Our unyielding campaign led to the surrender of millions of drug dependents and neutralization, capture and prosecution of thousands of drug personalities. The dismantling of illegal drugs and syndicates and the drug laboratories, the extensive drug communities down to the barangay level, and the cutting of narco politics. You know, allow me a little bit of your time. Wala naman siguro kayong lakad ngayon. Unless na, no, you want to, unless you have this appointment with, I'm sure hindi babae yan. That would be a sexist statement. Kung nagmamadali talaga, halos tumatakbo, babae yan. Kung naglalakad lang na natural, medyo less important yan. Ganon yan. Pero dito wala. I'm not making any sexist. I'm just saying the truth. What is the truth? It's there for all to see. Let me talk about our quest for infrastructure development. 5 years ago, the first thing I made sure was to increase our infrastructure spending to an average of 5% of the country's GDP. This is significantly higher than the infrastructure spending of each and past 4 administrations. Thanks to the comprehensive tax reform program that enabled us to fund critical infrastructure projects, today we can see the tangible results all around. MRT 3, with its frequent breakdowns and unloading of passengers mid-rail, was a horror. That was for the daily commuters to endure in the past. Now, MRT 3 no longer unloads passengers but to their destinations. The waiting time between trains had been significantly reduced to 10 trains running at only 30 kilometers per hour before. Now MRT runs 23 trains at 60 kilometers per hour. We have taken away the misery of public commuting. We also pursue the completion of the LRT to East Extension Project by extending Line 2 and adding 2 more stations. We have reduced travel time between Manila and Antipolo from the usual 2 to 3 hours to only just 40 minutes. Thanks to our partnership with the private sector, we are able to open Stage 3 of the Metro Manila Skyway in January this year. This decongested EDSA and other major roads in Metro Manila. On Independence Day last month, we also inaugurated the Kalayaan Bridge, part of the BGC Ortigas Centerlink project, which will reduce the usual 1-hour travel time between the two business districts in just 12 minutes. Beyond Metro Manila, we are pursuing several high-impact projects that will be completed within my term and perhaps in the following years. It's a question of money. Just this July, we inspected the newly built passenger terminal building of the Clark International Airport. The new and modern passenger terminal is equipped with the latest state-of-art technology. This can accommodate 8 million passengers, alleviate air traffic congestion at the Naya Airport, as well as serve a major growth driver and gateway to northern and central Luzon. Madali man magpakpak, ang basa ang mahirap. To help promote equitable development, we also completed several roads leading to important trade corridors. Last year, we completed the construction of the Poro Point Free Port Zone Road in La Union, which improved nakita na ninyo yan? Wala. Sige lang pakpak. You don't even have a picture of what I'm talking about, I'm sure. To improve access to prime spots for investment tourism in the Poro Point area. We also completed the junction Lanao-Pagadian Zamboanga City Road, which will provide easier access to farms and easily transport their agricultural products at low cost and in great quantities to industries and economic zones located in Diplahan, Zamboanga, Sibugay. The Sorsogon City in Bicol, inuna namin yan kasi mahal ko ang mga Bicolano. Tawa ninyo yung pakpak ninyo ha. Baka the Sorsogon City Coastal Pass-by Road is targeted completion by the end of 2021, while the Davao City Coastal Road will be completed by 2023. Bakit? Why? Why is Davao last? Kasi sinabi ko sa kanila, unahin ninyo yung buong Pilipinas. During the initial years of my presidency, I told the economic managers and the DPWH, pati si Art Tugade sa transportation, unahin ninyo ang Luzon at ibang areas sa Mindanao. Do not look into the political entrails of this city and other provinces. Sinadya ko talaga na ipanghuli ang Davao. Kaya for the Davaoenos, you must understand that we cannot really unahin natin yung, kasi taga dyan ako eh. Kung hindi ako sigurado taga Davao, tapos na yan, pareho ng iba. Kaya lang sinabi ko, make Davao the last priority. At totoo yan. Sorsogon is a little politics, but that's the territory of our Vice President, Lene Robredo. Are you here, ma'am? Zoom. Meron ho kayong Sorsogon at iba pa. We have inaugurated new highways and roads as skyways. We have bought new trains, and these are a testament that we have greatly eased the grueling experience of traveling and commuting. And to sustain our momentum in infrastructure development, I have directed DPWH, DTR, NEDA, Department of Finance, and DBM to be on full speed to ensure that our flagship project will be completed within my term, especially those that could help disperse economic activity outside of the densely populated Metro Manila. I thus earnestly call upon our LGU and private sector partners to help us speed and go for the earliest realization towards our flagship project, infrastructure, and others. Let me dwell about governance. As we improve the connectivity, we work towards greater convenience for our travelers. We have extended the validity of the Philippine passport to 10 years to lessen the burden of our traveling travelers and OFWs. We have also gone beyond merely addressing the 3 million backlog of the driver's licenses in 2016. We also extended for the new cars the validity of the driver's license to 5 years, and addedly, we shall begin the issuance of these driver's licenses within 10 years, which would be good for 10 years if there is no traffic violation. So, punta ko doon sa LTO, maybe you have a good site. Merong ano yan eh. I think there's an examination there somewhere to test your ability to drive safely. And you go back 10 years after, and you think that you still have the good side, and your reflexes are still good. 10 years, maraming banggaan yan. Sigurado ako. After 10 years, after 5, there should be a stricter measure to issue the 10 years validity of a driver's license by imposing stringent requirements to test the essential functions of eyesight and hearing. Yung iba, hindi na nakakarinig ng serbato eh. And so, I have to, 10 years is too long. I like it. It's good. But we should have assessed in 5 years, we should go there for a medical makeover. Tingnan lang kung kaya pa. Not only did we extend the validity of the licenses and passports, we also sought to make long lines a thing of the past. By streamlining government processes, these efforts are embodied in the Ease of Doing Business Act, which Congress passed on 2018. Thank you, Congress. niyo yun. Ako ang nagpirma pala. Ako nag-execute. Pakpak rin kayo. Dapat ganun ang SONA. Sabihin mo lahat. At sabihin mo na your, not really your qualms, but your misgivings somewhere there. Transactions will be further streamlined with the rollout of the Philippine Identification System or the PhilSy to the Philippine Identification System Act. With this, we hope to facilitate better access, better services and access for all Filipinos, even in the far-flung areas. I want to say something about this, but I'm taking too long, you know. We also ensured the modification of the salary schedule for civilian government personnel through the salary standardization law 5. A necessary measure for our civil servants to recognize their work and accomplishment, as well as a gesture of gratitude and goodwill. We have this legacy, and we hope to pass on this establishment of central business portal, single site, and for all business-related transactions, such as securing business permits, licenses, and clearances, and launched earlier this year. It shall be elevated our global standing in doing business arena and improve our country's competitiveness. Alam mo ito, yung queuing. When I was a mayor, I don't know, but maybe a legislator or a senator or a congressman, well, not really he's higher than the others. At kung dumaan ka as a local government employee worker, just like me, for 23 years, itong queuing, matagal ko na ito. In Davao, ang passport issuances na doon sa likod ng SM, isang gabi, nagmotor ako, nakita ko yung mga paa sa simento. So I was thinking, anong nangyari dito? So nagbaba ako, sabi ko, bakit dito kayo natutulog? Sabi nila, you know, Mayor, ang pagbukas niyan, kailangan nakapila na kami. Pag hindi, sunod, ibang araw na naman kami. So, I called for the chief of office. And I said, look, I may not be the person above you supervising, but make sure that this thing will not happen tomorrow. As in tomorrow. Tapos tinawagan ko ang itong sabi ko, why don't you give cards? Kung marami sila paglinya, may maglakad na martial o ito ikaw bukas at 4 p.m. So you have to study the time and motion of people doing work. Sabi ko, ayaw ko dito sa Davao because Davao, Mindanao, nasa Davao ang ang issuances ng passport. So ngayon, pagka-presidente ko, sabi ko, ayaw ko nang makita yan. Not during my time. Not during my time. Maghanap pa ng ibang panahon, ayusin ninyo yan. I do not want people queuing under the heat of the sun and rain. Kaya, sabi ko, di magbigay kayo ng card. They should go to one window, magkuha kayo kung kailan sila makabalik. So divide, I should study your time. And the motion of, the process of, andito nangyari na because I insisted. Today there is no more queuing, especially in the National Office, Statistics Office. Nakita ko. Talagang sabi ko na, either you fix the thing or I will resign tomorrow because I could not bear to see those people. Hindi sa panahon ko, kung hindi ko madala, hindi ko man kayo mapatay, hindi ko kayo mabugbog, ako ang alis sa gobyerno. Sabi ko, ayusin ninyo yan. Hindi ko gustong makita yan. Since 2016, the Office of the President has issued 138 executive orders, 43 administrative orders, 86 memorandum circulars, 52 memorandum orders, and 1,038 proclamations. These issuances have been integral guideposts government administration and development agenda. The Office of the President has demonstrated careful stewardship of the power by initiating reforms. We upgraded and improved the system and process to ensure that it can provide the best service to the institution of the presidency and the offices under it, ultimately to the Filipino people. To further promote transparency and accountability in government, we also issued the order of the Freedom of Information and opens the records of transaction, decision issuances of all government agencies. In relation to this, we have also Presidential Anti-Corrupt Commission that is tasked to run after corrupt and erring government officials and bring them to justice. Alam mo, I don't know if you perhaps have come to know about this. I have yung pastillas sa airport. There were 43 personnel involved. I fired them all. Talagang pinaalis ko sa gobyerno. Nagbalot mga ako ng pera sa pastillas. Sabi ko kay pagbalot na lagyan mo ng pera. Kaya ito ang ipakain ko sa kanila. Tinawag ko 43 of them from the immigration. Mabutit na lang nandyan si Justice Secretary Guevara. So that prevented me from doing it because kung hindi siya dumating and I never expected him to be there, bigyan ko isa't isa yung papel at ipakain ko talaga yung pera sa kanila. Kung gusto mo ng pera, kainin mo. That is the best way of... Then you fire them. Customs 73 plus 42, and every day you have about... We have dismissed about 200 government personnel. But some I did not allow the publication because may mga pamilya so of late yung sabi nila na wag na kasi nasasaktan yung mga so ngayon wala na. I have stopped it but there is no saying that we cannot reimpose it again for all of these idiots. I still have about a year to go. I will reach you somehow. But corruption is endemic in government. You cannot stop corruption. Nobody can stop corruption unless you overturn government completely. If I were the next president, if you think there's really need for you to change everybody in the system, then you declare martial law and fire everybody and allow the new generation to come in to work for government. Eh kung hindi mo ganunin, walang mangyari. Nandyan, it's in the system. Kagaya ng drugs. Sino ba naman maniwala na 9 generals sa police were into trafficking of drugs? And because they are policemen, the charges simply just, disappeared. Because the prosecution, the investigation, which form part of the vital documents in court, wala, nobody was investigating because they are also policemen. Kaya yan kahirap ang kaya gusto mo, itong mga to, talagang the only way to do it, just call them and say, look for another job. Don't. Ganun kahirap. Now, let me pursue my talk with the foreign policy of the country. In the international arena, we have vigorously pursued an independent foreign policy centered on the promotion and protection of our core national interests. Yet, sigurado kayo sa pinapagan ninyo? I was just laying the predicate of what I'm going to say. Yet, we continue. I will just give the cue, then you clap your hands. Yet we continue to work with all nations and seek partnerships that work. Because despite differences, it is an independent world where interests and objectives intersect. Now, partners heretofore silent for equivocal reasons have expressed their principled positions that echo our own, that disputes and contested areas, the majesty of the law must prevail, and this is most welcome. To our friends in ASEAN and around the world, thank you for supporting my government, my country and people, where it truly matters. I assure you that the Philippines will remain a responsible member of the international community. And we will work with you to achieve our shared objectives. But make no mistake, rather. Gone are the days when the Philippines decides and acts in the shadows of the great powers. We will assert what is rightfully ours and fight for what is rightfully due to the Filipino people. We do not have any sooner every day. Now is as good as any other time to just let it out from puso mo. This is why we sent back container vans of garbage, because our country is not a dump site. And the first country to do that, hindi ko alam kung bakit, ang Canada. And the container was there for 3 years because hindi alam ng port authorities kung anong gawain nila sa garbage. And I said, isauli mo. I want it done tomorrow. those containers must be out of our country. Pag hindi kayong lahat, all of you in Costa, I'll fire you. That is a good ground for dismissing people for accepting the garbage. Kaya may isa pa. Pero let you in the story. The Balingiga bell. We welcome back the bells of Balingiga after many decades because a historic wrong needed to be corrected. The deal was, I would say, I am in bad faith. Sigurado yan. I will admit it. But this is the real story. The Americans, former soldiers, war veterans, went to see me, I think it was in Aguinaldo, and some military men. And in no uncertain terms, they said that you have been invited by Trump to go to America. Have you decided to go there? I said, no. Why? Because I do not like the way that you are treating my country. Why? I said, for one, and there was the clamor now of Balingiga. You return the bells of Balingiga. So that's a war relic, sacred also to the soldiers. Then it is more sacred to us in addition to the religion, the Roman Catholic Filipino Church, the church. Sabi nila, why would to make a deal? Si Hogan is around. Is a CIA agent. Sabi niya, isauli namin, pupunta ka, because I said earlier in my presidency, there will never be a time that I will go to America. Itong mga media mahilag mag-udyok ganon, bakit ka hindi punta? O arte mo lang yan. Sabi ko, then you watch me. Gusto niyong malaman. Sabi ko sa Amerika, yes, I might consider going to America. So well then. O sabi ko, work on it. Ano in just 2 months time, they told me that the ship carrying the Balingiga bells are on their way. For delivery to Quezon. You remove it, you put it back there, kayo mismo. So tulong-tulong sila doon, nabalik na. Ernest Hogan said, so when are you going to go to America? So I do not have the time. But I will go there. Nung malapit na, hindi na talaga ako pumunta. Well, how about your promise? Well, I lost time to do it. I cannot do it now. Pero talaga, in my mind, and the Americans might know it, there was never in my mind a trip to America. Ayong Balingiga, sabi ko, you massacred one barangay, baryo noon. Women and children and all. Pinatay nila lahat. Because that bell, Balingiga, was used to call the people for prayers, ganon. Sa simbahan yun eh. So yung ginawa nila, every time it is used, the Americans knew that it has great significance to the Filipinos, the Balingiga. after the massacre of one barangay. How many at the time, we would never know. But it was said, isang baryo. Do barangay ngayon, baryo noon yan eh. Baryo is an American word. The barrio. They also call the small places in Mexico barrio. The Americans borrowed it from the Spaniards, barrio. So sabi ko, blood, you really got it at the expense of the blood of Filipinos. I do not hurry me up. If I go to America, it will be in my own time. Pero actually, wala ako. I have not been to America for almost 10 years, 22 years. I have not visited America, and I do not have any intention of visiting it anymore. We called on the world to dismantle the heinous kafala system. Ito rin isa. Because the Filipino is no slave unto anyone, anywhere. And there is no room for modern day slavery. We helped start a new global civil rights movement for the migrant worker. And we asserted the arbitration ruling on the South China Sea clearly and in no uncertain terms, bilaterally, and the ASEAN, and finally at the United Nations General Assembly. And let me talk about that. I said in the September of last year, the arbitral award is now part of the international law and beyond compromise and beyond the reach of the passing governments to dilute, to diminish, or abandon. That is the problem. We would like to just to everybody in the Middle East. I would like to tell them that not only Filipinos but all human beings, the kafala has no place there because it's a setup for slavery. Either you correct it or we will ask our workers, Filipino workers, to go home. Sabi ko, bahala na. Kung mahirap lang kami dito, okay lang. We will try our very best to make up for what they have lost, what they will lose in the process. But we will never allow them to be slaves. But we need to do more with our partners. We continue scaling our maritime domain awareness, defense capabilities. Yet, we will not close our doors on diplomacy and the tongue, because that is how disputes are settled and never by force. Let me I respect the opinion. You should be aware by now of how I talk, especially on matters of crucial matters that involves the country. Ito bang arbitral ruling? I've said it I think in the later part of the speech. I said that What's your problem in the arbitral ruling? America and some Filipinos, brilliant Filipinos, I would say, keep on pushing for something which I really do not know. I have made a speech before the UN. Nakasumplo rin, nandito lang ako. Hindi ako pumunta doon. But in that speech, I laid down the bare, sabi ko, ng ating administrasyon. Ano pa ang gusto ninyo? What will I do with a document that is not bind China because they were never a part of that arbitration? There was really no arbitration at all because it was only the Philippine side was heard. Well and good. But ito ngayon, that there is the arbitral ruling, you know, I do not want to insult these people pushing me for something more than what I can handle. At anong gusto nila makipagira? Do something. What do something? Do you want war against China? Well, I'll tell you, even on the coast beach of Palawan, before you can take off, the missile of China would be there in about 5 or 10 minutes. It would be a massacre if I go and fight a war now. We are not yet a competent and able enemy of the other side. So what I did was I was just being nice to them. But for some people to say that I was helped by China in being president, these idiots, really. I will never do that. Hindi na bali ako, hindi ma-presidente, hindi talaga gagawin yan. To be, what? Receiving money from China to buy votes? They say that they help. Maybe in some Chinese communities, the gossip going around was that support Duterte. But the whole of the Chinese community in the Philippines went for me. Why? Kasi sa Davao nung mayor ako, ni minsan hindi ako tumatanggap baski Christmas gift. Dito marami dito sa Manila, presidente ako ngayon. Marami nagpapadala ng baril, kung ano dyan, gobs. Sabi ko, isa uli mo yan. Yung mga relo, itong aking relo, it's IWC, this is only 300,000. But the patik that has come with me, sinauli ko talaga, return it. O pag hindi, itapon mo sa Pasig sa harapan nila. Hindi ako tinulungan ng China. Nag-usap kami ng China civilly, but after election. After election, I was a good friend of presidency. Until now, when the pandemic struck, the first country I called for help was China. Presidency, sabi ko, President, we have no vaccination program here because we do not have the vaccines. We have not been able to invent one. We might have a hard time. I said, no, it's okay, we'll send you. And they send us, donated about 1,500,000 of vaccines. Gano'n, kaya sabi ko, ako, lalo na kami mga Bisaya, mabigat sa amin yan, for us Bisayans, yung utang na loob, mabigat talaga yan. Hindi mo mabayaran ng pero pag may utang na loob ako sa iyo, you can be sure that I will be your friend, a true friend, and die for you. Pero itong China mag-die, bakit ako mapakamatay dyan ng sundalo ko, ubusin ko? How can we fight China? Do we have the weapons? Do we have the everything? How comes America? They say that if the attack is against the Philippines, they will defend. But they issued a statement that America does not meddle in conflicts involving the boundaries of other nations. And if America has to go to war, you would have to go to Congress to get, American Congress to get that authority to go to war. That is why many presidents, hindi na lang, it was just not an error, a mistake, a malicious mistake. No president has ever been punished for attacking nations, getting into a fight with nothing. And if they come here, well, ang problema kasi nandito na yung balingiga, sa uli na lang natin, uli. I will just return and pag ito no big deal to bells, ring it until you die. Fulfilling my promise to our coconut farmers and the Filipino people, my administration has worked with Congress to pass the Coconut Farmers and Industry Trust Fund Act. We have returned also the cocoa levy funds to its true and rightful owners, our coconut farmers. The fund is now worth estimated to be 75 billion, which will be utilized according to the plans and programs in the Coconut Farmers and Industry Development Plan for the direct benefit of the coconut farmers and the development of the coconut industry. In our effort to ensure that food is within reach to every Filipino family, we work for the passage of the rice tariffication law in 2019, despite pushbacks. This resulted in the stabilization of rice supply and food prices and the proceeds from the tariffs that enabled us to provide our farmers with modern machineries that increase their yield and sustaining growth agricultural production. We also fulfilled our promise to improve free irrigation. That was the first promise I made in San Miguel, Bulacan when I was campaigning. The farmers invited me to go into the farms inside San Miguel, Bulacan. And we had a sort of a meeting, and the first thing that they were complaining about was the severity of the irrigation, that they have to pay 5,000 every month, every year. So sabi ko, I will work on it. Free Irrigation Service Act of 2018 is a product that now lowers the cost of agricultural production, especially for farmers. We also work to ensure that households have adequate supply of clean water, potable and affordable water. It's more than a commodity. It is vital. It is a vital public good. This is why I used my political capital to fight vested interest behind disadvantageous water service contracts that burden consumers with unjustified water rice prices increases with the signing of this concession water agreements, concessioners, consumers will be protected at least until 2037. Ganito yan eh. There is this concessionaire, dalawa. Ayoko na lang mag-ano. I will not mention names. Pero this is really what happened. Ang dalawang concessionaires, one in the south, and the other one is north. As the rich cartel dito sa Southeast Asia, ang kinakapture nila ang electricity pati tubig. Dito sa tubig, in this contract with water concessionaires, we made so many concessions that really, sabi ko, if you look at the contract and look at the anti-graft law, talagang it's all anti-graft. All of the sentences, even the period and question mark there. Bakit? Sila walang problema sa tax because the people, consumers, will pay the taxes for them. Sila kung malugi, sabi na, hindi na kasalanan, and we can think of it through not of their own fault, sabi doon, bayaran natin sila malugi. We pay for the tax corporation nila. At sila ang mag-decide kung i-increase nila o i-decrease nila ang water prices. The regulators, itong mga regulators sa Pilipinas, walang magawa and they acceded to the contract. It was really, I don't know how to put it. Kaya ako nag-pardon, di ba nagmura ako? Sabi ko, pero kung malugi sila, babayaran pa natin. Tayo ang corporate tax nila. Tayo ang magbayad. And it's a cartel that service concessionaires are part of the cartel of Malaysia and Indonesia, and they form part of that mother corporation. Itong mga sa Pilipinas, pati Malaysia, Indonesia, they are just, kumbaga sa storya, chapter lang yan sila. So being controlled up by the kasabi ko, wala ito. I told them, I told Dominguez, tell them that I am no longer honoring the contract. Mayroon pa doon, payment of itong tax, water treatment plant to be constructed in the Harrison Plaza site. Yun ang pinirmahan natin. So 1997 up to the present, or up to the month that I blew my top, nagbabayad, ewan ko kung ano nagbabayad, there's a, sa water bills ninyo, for enhancement of quality water. Ang ibig sabihin, water treatment. And they were collecting since 1997. So until now, how much of the Filipinos' money are with them for nothing, not even for a song? Kaya ako, if there is something, hindi naman proud, But if there is something someday that my children will say, what have you done for my country? Sabihin ko, sila. Talagang inupakan ko sila. Sabi ko, ayaw ninyo? You do not want it? Well, okay. I will just confiscate your system and call the military to operate it. I will exercise the eminent domain and expropriate all of your assets here. Kasi gagawin ko. Yun ang nangyari ka. So na sinabi ko sa military in one of our meetings immediately after that incident, I said, if I do not make it to the finish line, kindly, look kindly at the Filipino at tanungin ninyo kung ano na ang nangyari sa kanila. Yang tubig na yan. Now there is a new contract. I have not yet, I have to thoroughly digest it inside. I have to absorb it, every word of it, that the Filipino is protected. Pag nandiyan na yan, then I will sign. But I will not forget, I'm telling them, the crime is there already. And any Filipino who would want to go after you can. Sabi ko, I will not free you. I will not, there's no waiver in you. I will never allow that. Just make a new contract. Just realize every day that I can call you itong frequency ng ABS-CBN. Yan ang pinaka-ideal kasi frequency is everywhere. But there is a spot kung sa Gulf is a soft spot na maganda yung wala akong problema sa ABS-CBN. They got my money. I'm not worried. They wanted to return it when the case blew up, but they printed all the garbage, including my daughter as a drug trafficker. Nilamon ko na lang lahat yun because I never wanted to appear vindictive. But itong they are cheating government by the billions in taxes. And they still want that frequency because yan ang pinapag-awayan. No. I will give it to a Filipino na gustong magawa ng tamang unpay because isa ABS-CBN, even their equipments were imported tax-free. Kaya talaga ako hindi magpapayag. They still owe government billions. Hindi contract na sa nakalagay doon 4 hectares. So ang binabayaran nila 4 hectares sa property tax. Suppose occupying 40 hectares. That complex there. Pero ginamit nila na papel yung 4 hectares. Yun lang ang binabayaran nila. Kung hindi ba naman kaya ko sila our micro, small and medium enterprises or MSMEs constitute 99.6% of our country's businesses and are vital to economic activity, job creation, and poverty reduction. Iparamdam natin ang ating malasakit sa maliliit na negosyante sa pamamagitan ng pondo sa pagbago at pag-asenso program since 2017. Meron na tayo. We have the program. The program has provided over 219,000 underprivileged microeconomic entrepreneurs with an alternative to the exploitive lending 5-6. Yan ang nakaano sa, you know what, maybe I have to go to, if need be, I have to go to India. Yung 5-6 nila ng Turko, tinatawag ng Turko, kung maghiram ka sa kanila ng 10,000, hiramin kanyang, hindi pera 10,000, 7,000 lang. And the others, mga refrigerator or the things that you do not even need in the house, bilhin mo sa kanila, sala set, lahat na. That is part of the money. You do not want the furnitures, the refrigerators, they won't give you the... Kaya ang Pilipino na buktot, alam mo buktot, naging hands back na lang sa trabaho, ganun pa man. Kaya ako, sabihin ko itong mga Turko, you better come up with a fair. If you want to go into business, money lending, but not at that usury. It is usury 1,000 times. Likewise, to further support development of our micro and small business, we initiated radical reforms in the tax system to ease the taxation burden and increase the net income of lower wage earners and small businesses. Thanks to Congress. Yan, hindi pa ninyo alam, ha? Sabi ko lang, thanks to Congress and our revenue-generating agencies, our tax reform sustained our economic growth from the third quarter of 2016 to the fourth quarter of 2019, which made the Philippines one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia until the pandemic scourge. Yan talaga ang, well, I don't know what's the plan of God. The study is something which hit us right in the heart. We see there's no way of telling when this virus would disappear from the planets of the earth. We can only pray plan of God. The study is something which hit us right in the heart.
Dala ang pananaw ng serbisyo at pagbabago para sa mga Pilipino.